Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to another Shamshir Sound video. My name is Nadem, and in today's video we're going to be going over part 4 of the Migos Narcos remix. So before we jump into that guys, make sure you smash up the like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed and you smash that notification bell, you know what I'm saying? For part 4, I did a lot of kind of cleaning just to save you guys the time and hassle of all the renaming and all the stuff, but I'm going to explain to you guys everything that I did, what I've updated, what I've added. I added a lot of automation and I'll explain that, but it's really important to name your stuff accordingly. If not on the actual automation clip, on the side here, it's a really good idea just to keep it more organized. I like putting my effects and then a whole list of automations. Giving them a name, it just helps a lot because as I get more and more, I'm like, wait, which fruity balance is this? Which one is this? It gets really, even last night when I was renaming stuff, it gets kind of hectic, very difficult to navigate through your project when you don't have stuff named. And also, that's a really good thing to do when you guys are collaborating with other artists. Make sure that you guys keep things legible, clean. I always make things very simple so that the person I'm collaborating with can understand everything, they can read it. The drop is essentially the same. I've added kind of a little bit of an uplifter noise just to make things a bit more congruent. It's really important to have some effects in the background. They really give a lot of space and dimension to your track. Over here in the break, I'm pretty happy with what I've done with the build up. A lot of small changes that I've done. When we come here, in the build up, all ideas are the same. However, what I've done is I've done these cool automations. The automations, I've done stuff where like any ARP or something is building up with Endless Smile. I also added this with the vocal. I made it go up with Endless Smile, go down and kind of go up a bit, and right before the drop stop. We also have some stereo separation. So the stereo separation of the vocals is in the standard, just normal stereo, and then it goes mono and then comes back to normal. I also have Endless Smile on the master. We can see that there. That's been added 50%. So that's actually on the master channel. But I also have Endless Smile on some of the other stuff too. These all help to create tension and reverb, and the listener's like, oh, a drop is coming, because all that tension and reverb and high passing will create the idea of expectation of a drop. Also, some other small stuff. I added FabFilter Simplon. FabFilter Simplon is a great VST if you just need to do some simple high passing or low passing. I like to use it sometimes right before the drop on some elements, because if you high pass stuff right before the drop, sometimes it creates a bit more impact for the bass. So I have a few things that have FabFilter Simplon, and they're all being linked to this effect mix, which basically 0% is not doing anything, and then it goes up to like 25% and it starts like high passing it just a bit. Moving on, also the break sub. So during the break, there's a sub that's playing back, and I let the sub kind of diminish right before the drop. So it will play back, but then right before the drop, it kind of reduces. Again, just to create a bit more impact for the drop, to make the drop a bit more special. The riser snare, it was just playing some normal notes. We'll just find that here. But the riser snare, I felt like I want to change the volume. I want to make the volume like kind of automate the volume. And what I did with the riser snare, so on the riser snare I added Endless Smile, but also I added a cool delay that I'm actually increasing the wetness over time. And it's really nice because then it's creating this dimension. So it plays like dry, and I wouldn't even say dry because it's wet. It has a reverb, has Endless Smile, but as it goes up, it's doing a ping pong delay, and that ping pong delay is increasing. But then the 4 bars right before the drop, where it says straight to the, it stops, it ends. Oh, and it doesn't look like I ended it on the right note. So these are some important things you see here. This I actually wanted it to end right there. So good that I caught that. So let's make sure that's good. Oh, I see here. It looks like it's not on the right position on the grid. So sometimes when you copy and paste automation clips, sometimes they don't get placed correctly on the right spot. So that's fine. This just needs to be moved back. and now we're golden. So we added that delay. I added a bit of sausage fattener. On many of the tracks, I added sausage fattener. And also I automated the volume a tad. So rather than playing normal volume, I automated it a bit. So it kind of starts at like minus 0.7 and works its way up to the default value. And then right before the drop, I also cut it off. I turn off the volume completely. I also did the same thing for some of the other stuff, like just sharp volume cutoff for like the break sub, some of the other elements, just to make sure that they turn off right before the drop. I don't want anything kind of playing during the drop. I want all those riser elements to build up, but then get out of the way of the drop. And that's what that is used for. That's what I use Fruity Balance a lot for. So there were little automations I did, but nothing kind of crazy. The song itself is still the same. And let's talk about the routing, because I did some really cool stuff with the routing. I want to show you guys here. Let's make it wide. So any of these that you see with the note here, they're all being routed to a bus to ascend. And the reason why I did that was I just wanted to give them kind of a little cherry on top. Just wanted to make them kind of that much more special, just kind of a little bit of a boost. And so they're all being routed here. This one says drum mix minus the kick. That's why it has minus K. And they're all being routed to here. And all that's being added is the drummer with the neutral preset. I'm using this on other stuff as well. Neutral preset. It's not really doing any compression. It's just kind of adding a tiny bit of character to it almost. And I'm doing the same thing with the kick mix. This is the sub and the punch. They're being routed. Everything was the same, but I added the drummer as well. Same preset. And then I routed the intro pluck. So we'll talk about the intro pluck because that's a new element. And the brass and the pad to the synth and brass section. And again, that's another one there. So you can see there, this helps a lot because if I render the stems, I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, a total of 8 stems, rather than dealing with 34. So 8 versus 34, it's much easier to work with 8 stems because then the leveling and everything, you could do a much better job if you did want to bounce the stems. But I don't think I'm even going to bounce the stems in this project. I think I'm just going to render it, the master, and do the mastering inside the project to keep it within. So I did that to the other elements. You can see here like these 3 break items, chord, lead, and ARP, go to one thing that says break mix. Now this one doesn't have the drummer on it. I didn't think it was necessary. I have these 2, sub 1 and sub 2, going to another one, break sub mix. Again, no drummer. And we have other elements like all the vocal stuff, the vocal chop, hey, the vocodex, the carrier, all these ultimately finally result in going to the vocal bus, which again has drummer on it as well. It has Endless Smile on it as well. Gives us the ability to just do some final adjustments to multiple stuff, anything that's vocal wise. And then the FX as well, same thing. Everything's going to this FX bus with the exception of this one, because when I sent the stuff from this one to this channel send got a bit too hot and I didn't want it to do that. So I ended up having these guys go to this and then have a separate one. So ultimately this routing was really nice. I'm doing this more often. I didn't really do this that much in the past of sending stuff to Ascend. I find that it just helps clean up stuff, keep things more congruent, and I think it can help you audio-wise that things will actually sound better when you send them to Ascend rather than sending everything to the master. Things become grouped, things become more layered, sounds become more congruent and part of the same family. That's basically it with routing. I wanted to mention that I also did add some stuff to some of the channel elements, like just some sausage fattener to some of the stuff, a tiny bit of leveling to some of the items, but that's really kind of miscellaneous. Let's talk about what was added new. So I added this ARP to the break. And all these small things go a long way, you know, like listening to this on itself. You know, it's not fabulous, it's not terrible, but on itself it's nothing crazy. But when you create harmonies, you know, you got a chord there, we got the kick, we got the ARP, it really makes it more melodic. You really set the scene as to where you are, what kind of story you're telling. And for me, this is very fantastical and mystical to me. You always want to tell a story. And so I made this kind of like basic saw, and it's nothing crazy, very simple. Saw square wave, saw wave. Just has a kind of short decay. It's not even a filter doing it, it's just a short decay. And so that has a really nice sound. I like this. One thing I noticed too was when my kick was playing during this break was that it was too powerful. It almost overpowered my drop. So I made this cool automation for the kick. This is the first time I've done this. I made an automation for the kick. It's right here. It's called Kick Reducer minus 0.6 dB. Really cool because what it did was that it literally did that. Brings the kick minus 0.6 dB. The kick will always be less powerful, just slightly, minus 0.6 dB in the break part, in the outro part, and also in the intro part as well. Allowing the kick to be at its full 100% when the drop hits. So that was a really nice automation there that I just wanted to talk about. And some of the other automations I did were to the carrier. The carrier is the synth that is going through the vocoder. And I wanted to make like a slight high pass. Some additions that I made to just kind of make like the vocal seem like it was really like fading into the oblivion. And these subtle things, these subtle differences allowed me to. I used parametric EQ2 on the carrier right here, and it's being automated. The high pass is being automated. So automations, guys, are really important. Really, really important. If we zoom out of this project, you can see that maybe more than half of this is just automation. And the reason why is because you need to create evolution, you need to create growth, you need to create movement and animation. So that can really only be done by automating stuff, if not in the synth or something itself through an automation clip. That is pretty much a wrap for the automations. One last thing I wanted to talk about the automation was this here I added also, these Migos vocal cuts, drop clap cuts. So because I don't have a declicking on, I thought, you know, it's maybe a good idea to put Fruity Balance to just cut off right here. And I did the same thing over and over. I did the same thing with the drop claps as well, just to cut it off, just to keep those clicks and blips in check in case they do become a problem. And I did the same thing with the vocals as well. You can see here, introduces it very quickly and then just gets out of the way. And same thing over here as well. Gets out of the way, gets out of the way. And I'm just reusing these, you know, they're part of the same automation clip. I'm just taking parts there. So that way it gets out of the way. Really nice additions. And I also hear the break clap. I wanted it to actually go out, fade away as well. So I started a bit lower here, 73%, and it fades out. So these volume automations, I did them like a few here, a few there. They all add up. You know, when you make those automations, they do a lot to build, and really when they're stacked together, you can really get that nice combination, nice little lasagna. I also found that the break, this part here, I felt like that impact wasn't enough, so I added this tape stop from Cashmere. So I added that just to give a little bit more punch to the downlifters that are going on here, because it's important for your break and rise to still have some subsonic energy, some sub, because if they don't, it'll really lack power, it'll really lack body. And even though, like we said, we don't want the break and the rise to overpower the drop, they also shouldn't be like extremely weak unless it's something that's very creative. Maybe you're doing this like long reverb trail and someone's expecting something. But in this situation, I needed that added because without it, it just had a bit less power, the impact. And I reduced the volume of it slightly. That is basically with the automations. So I'm going to explain what I did with the intro and the outro. So intros and outros are actually very easy to make. Once you make a good drop, don't make the intro yet. Don't make the outro yet. Maybe just set the structure, but don't actually make them. When you make a good drop, then you can just take elements from your drop and reuse them in the intro, just copy paste. So that's what I did. The drop, if we look at the drop, okay, the drop has these pads, the intro has the pad. The drop has these downlifter and uplifter, the intro has the downlifter and uplifter. The drop has these effects, the intro has these effects. It's very simple because then you can just copy paste, take out the lead or maybe low pass the lead. And I used the toms as well. One thing that I did was that I kind of shortened the kick. I think I have LFO tool running on the kick. So let's listen to the intro. Now, I think I'm going to change up this intro pluck. I grabbed this pluck from my sample pack, Nadem Signature Sounds Volume 1. You guys can download that for free in the video description. And this pluck here, I wanted something. I think I'm going to add an ARP in this video. We're going to just spice up the intro and outro. But I just wanted to show you guys that, like, making an intro is not really difficult. This is just a 30-second intro. It builds up, and then like a 45-second drop. In the intro, we just took the elements, we just copy and pasted them, just sliced them up, and we're just reusing those elements. And at the same time, we have a little bit of automations going on when he says here, added like a ping pong delay. But I think I need to fix something here in this video. I think there's too much sub, or something is weird, or maybe his vocal needs to get sidechained, and it might not be getting sidechained. So we'll have to take a look at that. The pluck was cool, but I think I'm going to change that up. And the pluck is nothing crazy. If we look at the pluck is being routed to 13, and the pluck just has a little delay on it. One tip with delays is if you guys put delay before reverb, the reverb now will bounce left and right just like the delay. So my suggestion to you guys is, if you're going to put a delay, try it before the reverb. Kashmir talks about this, how it creates a lot of dimension and space, because rather than the reverb just being just standard, now the delay is affecting the reverb, because now the reverb is reverberating the delay. So I also cut out some of the lows, but I think I'm going to cut out some more as well. I'm going to slap on this guy here, and I'm going to cut out maybe like 150, just to make sure that this lead doesn't have too much subsonic frequency. Yeah, around there sounds good. One thing that I did add to the master, I talked about Endless Smile, but I also added Sausage Fattener. If you checked out my video on mastering, the universal tips on mastering, I talked about how sometimes Sausage Fattener might come in clutch and like make something sound decent. And I found that Sausage Fattener actually made the track sound better. Sometimes I don't use it. Generally, I don't use it on the master, but in this case, it actually sounded good. I then proceeded to add the drummer with the neutral preset. Full wetness, and then we have the clipper that's been on there throughout this whole video. Before Endless Smile, I'm also cutting out a bit of the lows. I think this is around 26 hertz and 20 kilohertz with the oversampling off. And the result is I'm really happy with the way that this is sounding on the master chain, because this is actually much louder than I would have wanted. If we go to the drop, check this out. Voxengo span is going crazy. It's like hitting -4 RMS. So I'm not gonna really put anything else on my master when I finally render this. And you guys will see how I render it. I'm also going to show how I make the visuals and everything with you guys on Z-Game Editor. But yeah, like I was saying, I'm pretty happy with the way the master is sounding. And using these samples again, like that are in the drop in the intro, really creates a lot of glue, because like then the listener already like knows those samples that are probably going to happen again. It introduces them to them already. And I did the same thing for the outro. The outro, once the drop is finished, right here, the lead gets low passed through the Camel Crusher filter. So the low pass filter and Camel Crusher. And then I start doing an Endless Smile curve, just a linear curve. And what that does is it sounds like this. So at this point, like, the lead has diminished, Endless Smile is hitting its maximum, cutoff filter is gone, so the lead is gone. And right now the claps stop, so no more claps, no more brass shots, no more pad. It's just like a shortened kick playing. And these are important to really allow the DJ to mix into another track. And just like the intro, you can see here, these are the same length, I start with a shortened kick, I end with a shortened kick, you see there. I then introduce more elements, you know, and here it's the same thing. 30-second intro, 30-second outro, both similar, but they're slightly different because I don't have that pluck sound here. I'm just diminishing the lead and just kind of fading away and removing elements. And also, like I said, that one automation clip that's doing the minus 0.6 dB is doing a good job at just making the kick less powerful. I'm also just going to end just like this when it ends. Just like that, just a simple ending. Don't really need to put an impact after it. I mean, you could, but it's not really necessary, you know, because it's already coming to a conclusion. It's already resolving. But sometimes I've added like an impact or something, 4-bar, maybe a clap exhaust or something like that. But I don't think it's necessary in this track. One thing that we need to fix in this track is this delay, because when he says trapping like a narcos or whatever he's saying here. Trapping like a narco. When he says that, I feel like in the beginning, for some reason, it sounds like there's too much bass. Perhaps we can see here, perhaps one of the automations are not kicking in. First thing that I'll do is I'm going to bring this back, this reverse clap. I feel like it's a good idea to bring this for the intro as well, like that. And it's there as well, so that's good. We got the reverse clap. Now let's look at items that are maybe making this impact a bit too strong, and we'll also look at it with Voxengo span as well. So the kick shorten stops, that's the kick shortener LFO tool. Let's see here. Trapping like the narco. So that's our problem. It has that 808 playing when we do it here. So when we go here, trapping like the narco. So that's a big problem. So I believe that's the issue, is that I believe this is not turning on. This one right here. So we're gonna have to find what's that linked to. It's linked to, it says FabFilter Pro Q2 mix level. So let's identify where that is, what it's doing. It's high passing it and low passing it, and that's what we need for the intro, because that intro, and that's the thing, if you guys let these problems slip by, it could really be disastrous for your song, because like I said, you don't want a problem like that lingering around in your track. But it's hard to identify sometimes when you have a lot of automation clips like this. But again, having it named will help you a lot, and I think it's right here actually. Yeah, that looks like it's the correct one, and we can know by keeping this detached. So as long as it's detached, we can see this in action. I'm gonna move that here, and yep, that's the one. So that's the one we need. So let's go ahead here and we will do something like this. Go ahead and select the slip tool, and for the beginning it's gonna go like that. So it's gonna be at 100%. Until maybe right there, perhaps. Yeah, that sounds good. Now let's go ahead and play this back. Let's see if we fix the problem. All right, so we did fix the issue. Now what we should do is we're going to do a little listening section where we just listen to see if anything is perhaps louder than drop elements. So we're going to start with the intro, and we're just going to keep an eye on the overall levels here. We're also going to keep an eye on the RMS. So that's what I'm looking out for. I want to identify if there's something that's more powerful than the drop. So there's a couple of things identified. Overall, the track is sounding good. The drop is the most powerful. And the break does get loud, but doesn't really push beyond minus 4.5 RMS. So I don't think the break is problematic. Some stuff we're going to add right now is I feel like we need to add a backverb, a reverse reverb to the break that's playing. I feel like it might be a good addition. Also, I feel like there could be a bit of a problem in the this part of the frequency. Just during the break, if we look here, during the break, these frequencies are peaking quite a bit, I believe, around this section, this mid section. Just the vocoder probably is adding a lot to the lead, so maybe I will back down the lead or the vocal. I might curve out a bit of the frequencies around that, around 500, maybe 300 to 600-ish, or even up to 800. Another thing that I noticed was that we're gonna now add the. We're gonna see what we can do here to just kind of fix that frequency, the problematic frequencies. So the carrier is the synth that's powering the vocoder, essentially. So let's go to that frequency again and see if it affects it. What I'm listening here for is I'm trying to see at one point does it kick in. I'm going extreme to hear it, and then I'm going to back off. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to create an automation clip for it, and I'm going to go ahead and only turn it on during the break. So we're going to call this like break mid EQ, break carrier mid EQ kind of thing. I'm gonna put that sample here again, dropping like a right before this hey. I just want to make sure that it's getting sidechained as well. This is the sidechain for the for Migos, so we just want to make sure that it is being sidechained. So I'm gonna go like this. What I'll do is I will go ahead and just make a slight adjustment to this. So what I'm thinking is, okay, I just don't want this to go crazy. What I want to do, I don't want to make another version of this. Rather, I just want to bring this back like so. And what I'm thinking is I'm going to go like this. Just keeping it 100, you know, keep it 100. And what I will do is I'm going to turn off his sidechain, maybe just where the part where the kick is not playing, which is right here. And I'll turn it back on, and I think I'm going to do the same thing right here as well, because it stops briefly just for like 1 bit. There we go. I might do the same here as well. That's not bad. The current linear kind of line it has is not bad. So overall, the automation, what we fixed here, we fixed that high pass problem with the delay of the vocal there. Narco. It had the 808 in it, so we fixed that. I also reduced the loudness of the claps a slight bit by putting on Fruity Balance and just reducing their volume just like minus 0.3. Now let's make that backverb for the leads here. So what I'm going to do to get that backverb, I think I'm going to get it from the break lead. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, is there a delay? Okay, so I don't want delay. I just want like just the actual reverb. So I'm going to find that break lead. Okay, so there's no delay in the synth, but the reverb's in the synth. So we're going to go ahead and press now, so it's always recording. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off Endless Smile. And I want to get this high pitch lead. I want to get this one, this right here. So I'm just going to play that back once. You know what I'll just do is I'll just make a pattern. And we'll just sample this so that we can get that in Edison, and then we'll reverse it. Let's try it one more time. Sometimes not every take is the same. You got to keep in mind, sometimes you'll have to do another take. Okay. And then just keep an eye on here. So this sample is done, because sometimes the reverb trail is really long and you don't want to just prematurely stop recording it. But we got that. So we're good there. Let's turn back on the delay and Endless Smile. And let's reverse this. And we'll put it down here, maybe around the FX. And you notice I made a bunch of these effects 1 to 8. It's nice to group those effects, keep them together, categorized. And what we want to do is we want to make sure we get off that dry lead. That whoosh, don't want that. Now this reverb is a bit short for my liking. I might actually do like an extended reverb, make this backverb really long. So I usually like going like this, make a smooth, like that. So this is like 4 bars long. Let's see if this is even noticeable, because if it's not audible and not doing anything, it might not be a good idea. We will do a different type of backverb. Alright, so let's try and do a different type of reverb. Let's try doing something like that. We'll just do 100% endless smile and see if that works. It might work, it might not. Only one way of knowing, just you gotta try it out, you know? Even though this is not intended, it could turn out nice. And it's always about those experiments, you know? It's always about those experiments, and you just trying out different stuff to see if it sticks or if it doesn't, you know? Now you see it kind of cuts in. It's hard to hear this, but it just abruptly starts. So I don't want that. I'm just going to slice it here. And I'm going to do a volume automation like so. Just so that it's not starting so abruptly. There we go. Let's put a pancake on this, which is a panning tool. I've done a tutorial on this. Let's see if we can just do like a little pan action. All right, so let's automate that. Alright, so it's a minor adjustment what we added there, that little backverb that's doing a little pan. And what we'll do too is I feel like we need a little backverb for him. So we'll try out something. We'll take a look. It's routed to number 27. And let's take a look here. So let's put on something maybe like just a simple reverb, but I'll make it a bit longer. I'll make it like, you know, let's just do long, like a large hull. And let me put like a pre-delay on it. Actually, let's forget the pre-delay. We'll put the reverb at 50%. So let's go ahead and record something here. There we go. So I think we have a nice little reverb trail there. Got that. So let's go ahead and throw that into the project. Let's undo the stuff that we put on there, and turn back on these elements. And and we're gonna make this like a 4-bar as well. It's gonna start on bar 5. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna also automate the volume like this. But I'm also gonna do some declicking mode as well. Maybe just generic. Yeah, let's try that out. Let's move that back, perhaps like right here. Put on smooth. And let's extend this, maybe like that. I don't want the word. That's better. Nice. Nice. Okay, that's good. And let's start right there. Very nice. Let's have a listen. What we'll do is we'll sidechain this as well. And just slap on maybe some basic kickstart. Okay, I think that's good. Let's have a listen. Alright, so I'm going to take these elements. I'm really happy with this, how this backverb turned out, considering that I didn't put a lot of thought into it, but sometimes you just get good results. So let's go ahead and put that for, I think I'm going to put it right before the last one. Perhaps like that. Yeah, put it right there. And perhaps we can reuse this. How often does he say it? Okay, so he says it once here, and then the rest in the drop. I'm not going to do it in the drop, but probably just the last element. Alright, cool. So we got that. Happy with that. So I'm going to move these above each other. Select and hold shift. And I'm going to move these down. I'm going to move these down to the effects section. I'm going to put them right there, effects 9. So I'm going to call this effects backverb. That way I can organize it. And I'm also going to route it to this effects bus instead of master. And make it a part of these like effects sends. You can also change the icon just to keep it a bit easier to identify where it's going and what is going to what. So we got that. Let's have a quick final inspection to the backverb of the break. I think this right here. This right here. Backverb break lead. Okay, I'll just paint this blue because we're not routing it to the drummer. The break stuff is just its own stuff. But I think I'll route it to this guy here because it's a break element. And that way it goes to that send. Okay, so let's have a quick listen to this. that's sounding really good right now. I like where everything is. Right now, it just needs to be in the polishing stage. And I really want to see if I can add an ARP. So let's try to add an ARP to the intro. Not something that's too in your face, but maybe something that is like, you know, a bit more in the ambience, kind of like a bit more in the background. So we're gonna see if we can make like some sort of ARP, some sort of intro ARP or something. So we'll add massive, and we're gonna see what we can create. All right, let's see if we can just make an ARP within massive. So we're trying just to see what melodic combinations we can make. Good idea. If things start to get laggy, go ahead and hit close all plugin windows, because if you have a lot of plugin windows open, they will make your user interfaces a bit less responsive. And then always double check on your master. So here, these are okay. I think I'm gonna do like some sort of like show tech style ARP, just a simple kind of like octave, and I'll carry that throughout this. So I think we do F sharp, G sharp, and then C sharp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create like a riser effect with macro 1. It's going to automate the high pass filter here and also the reverb, just to make it kind of fade away as we're building up. And I think this will help just the transition to the drop. But thus far, I think the ARP is not bad, but I feel like it needs a bit more work to make it balance in the mix. Sounding really good now. The ARP is sounding really nice. What I'll do is I'll introduce something called intro, and I'll low pass the ARP, and I'll introduce the ARP with an automation clip with macro 2. This way the ARP doesn't start right away, but instead is kind of like introduced. So this way it makes it a bit more dynamic. Let's listen to this. So I like where this is going. The intro ARP sounded nice. And we're going to move the intro ARP. Just hold Alt and left arrow. I'm going to move the intro ARP beside intro Pluck. Give it the same color. And I'm going to route it to this as well, to the drummer. And give it that icon. Let's quick listen. I think what I'll do is I'll put an endless smile on intro Pluck. I'm kind of tempted to put on both, but the intro ARP is already being high passed and whatnot, so I'll put it on the big room Pluck. And what we'll do is let's just listen to it and see, maybe here, maybe starting from here, or we can just progressively make it just kind of fade away. So quick listen to just the Pluck. one thing that I want to add to the break, I feel like it needs a little bit of low mid, some sort of like saw. So some sort of like saw that's just playing like single notes. So I'm gonna experiment. It might be too much, but might as well try it out. I feel like it needs some sort of like saw just to fill the low mids, some of the low frequency, because it has the sub, it has the high, but the low is a bit lacking in terms of a body. So we're just gonna make a monophonic sound. Trigger 0 reset, just a simple mono saw we're gonna make. We're gonna play the notes of the bass. So let's go ahead, go to this. Let's copy the notes from the chord. And we just need these sub notes. That's all we need. A bit lower. See how this sounds. I like this break saw. So we're gonna route this. And we are I don't think I'm gonna combine it with this. I think I'm just gonna let it run itself. Because it might be a bit too much if we route this too, but let's try it out. Route it to that one. Throw on a kickstart on there, and the kickstart, I need it to do the same automation clip as these guys. So I gotta find out what is being automated. I think it's the mix %. No, it's not. Okay, that's weird. Okay, that's the ARP. But these guys are turning on. Let's get rid of Edison. Don't need that. These guys are turning on. They're being linked to kickstart break lead. So the saw needs to be linked to kickstart break lead. So we'll go ahead and link that. So hit K on your keyboard, kickstart, break lead right there. And now we will have the saw also sidechain during the kick. Let's have a listen to this, adjust the levels of it, get it to how we want. Put a reverb on it. I don't want it to be too dry. I'm gonna put on the soft tube reverb, and I'm going to put a decay of like 1.5 seconds. Dry probably around 10%, 10 to 20%. And I'm also going to put an EQ on here just to roll off some of the lows. sounds much better with this break saw added. I feel like it adds a lot more girth to it, a lot more thickness and body, because when we play it without the saw, sometimes those simple layers go a long way. I don't think the reverb was necessary, so I might try it without the reverb, because really my only fear was that I don't want it to be dry and in your face, so such that it takes away from the drop. But my whole idea with this was that I wanted to add a bit of layering just to give it a bit more of that body, because I felt like it lacked some of that core. So I've decided to actually low pass it, bring down the volume a bit. It fills in that missing gap, but also allows the other lead and ARP to breathe. And now, though it's tempting to allow this saw to just go full out, it will take away from the other elements too. So you gotta pick and choose wisely. You know, you can't sometimes get both. So I'm gonna do that. Just gonna go like that. There we go. So kind of a low shelf we have on there. The high shelf brought down, almost like a low pass. Not really low pass, but same thing. And I think everything adds up pretty nicely, because when we remove the break saw, so I really like that addition. We got that Backverb break lead going on there, so it's looking pretty good. I'm really happy with where it is right now, so I hope you guys really enjoy where this has gone. Really completely unexpected. I never thought I'd make 125 BPM. I've never done that BPM. I've made trap and stuff, but I haven't done like EDM 125. Really the big thing for me was really the automations on this one, and the drop is it's got a lot of power. I'm gonna have a final listen to the intro. Just gonna fix this item, last thing, because I have this uplifter, and the uplifter, I'd rather route it to something and then go to the bus, because with this one, I kind of want to fix in case there's a click here. I want to focus on that, because if I play the whole audio clip, there's no click. But here, I removed a portion of it, right? So it's ending very abruptly. And so I'm going to use this hold and do this, and then let it play back just like normal. Don't really need to do that other areas, but it might be a good idea because of this. So I'm also going to do that here, and I'm going to do it anywhere else where the clip doesn't just resume. So here I'm not going to do it because it's just playing back again, but it might be a good idea to do it in these areas. But that's pretty much a wrap, guys. In the next video, we're going to be looking at mastering. So I'm going to be doing the mastering, final mastering. So the next part 5 is going to be mastering. We're going to be listening to it in mono. We're going to be adjusting some of the levels, maybe a bit of EQ, and then the final master, I'm going to render it as a wave and an MP3. And the part 6 is going to be the Z game editor and visuals. I'll show you guys how I make the visuals. We'll make some artwork for it, all that good stuff. But I really like where this has gone. In this video, we basically covered all the additions. We talked about the intro. I've also removed that pluck. I don't know what I'm going to do with that pluck. That pluck is kind of weird, the big room pluck. And you know what? I'm going to write some notes here, and that's always a good idea. I'm going to say double check big room pluck. We still got some mastering to do. That's essentially a wrap, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I disabled some of the master effects because my CPU was going really high usage, especially with OBS on as well. But that's a wrap for this video. Hope you guys really like this. It's all about those small things. If you see how we added that saw and we low passed it in the break, it allows to kind of fill in some of those low mids, the low frequencies. And on top of that, sometimes those problems like how we had where he's saying, drop it like a narcos, but he was playing the 808 because I didn't carry over the automation clip. So that was important. We made some backverbs for the vocal, and we made a little backverb with a kind of cool little LFO pan using Pancake for the break lead. On top of that, we adjusted a bit of the levels of this, minus 0.3 dB, I believe. And ultimately, it's looking pretty good. It's essentially at its final stage. I think all that's left is really just to nitpick the intro. have an overall listen, and we're going to be doing that during the mastering video. So I hope you guys like this. If you guys enjoy this, be sure to smash the like button and let me know if you guys have any requests for other videos. I know one of you guys said chord progressions to make a dubstep video, so I'm excited to make those in the near future. And make sure you guys are subscribed, hit that notification bell so you guys are alerted on your mobile phone, on desktop when I upload my videos, because this channel is strictly sound tutorial, sound design. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.